Bro, I really need y'all help. Somebody killed my little cousin, and the media and police, Houston police at that, not doing shit.
After not hearing from Clark, her family became worried, so they sent her brother to check on her. That's when he made the gruesome discovery. Clark had been shot multiple times and left to die.
Houston police say Dontia Clark was shot multiple times inside her own apartment where she died.
Dontia Clark was a 20-year-old woman who was thriving in her life and had a beautiful relationship. She believed that her life was perfect and she enjoyed every moment to the fullest. But it all came to an end when she paid the price for becoming pregnant. Dontia's lifeless body was discovered at her apartment in southern Houston. As news broke out, her friends and family had only one question: who took her life? Did she have enemies who wanted her gone? What was their motive behind this heinous act? Stay tuned as we dive deep into the story of Dontia, who didn't deserve to meet a tragic ending just because she wanted to have a baby. Dontia Natasha Clark was born on November 15, 2001 in Saginaw, Michigan. Her parents, Edward and Tasha Clark, raised their daughter like a princess and were hopeful for her future. Her siblings knew her to be a happy child who was sincere about her life goals. She had an apartment at 8808 Gustine Lane in southern Texas, where she lived alone, but she lived close to her family, who were a few minutes drive away. After graduating from high school, Dontia pursued a career she was passionate about. She loved working with wigs and hair and ran a hair salon named the Houston Braider out of her house. At 20, she was doing well with her business. She had a good number of returning customers in the Houston area and was hopeful about growing the client base further. At the time of the incident, she was attending Houston Community College. She wanted to graduate and make a name for herself. She attended college so that she could turn her dreams into reality. She regularly posted updates on her video online and showed off her hair braiding projects. Her videos of before and after braiding the hair gained popularity on the internet and helped her business gain more profit by attracting more customers. Dontia also believed in God and never wavered from her spiritual practices. She would often post videos on her faith and describe how God saved her from many negative situations in her life. In one such video, she added the caption, "He's real," and described how she was saved by her faith.
God showed himself to me when I was at my lowest. I don't know what was going on. I was dealing with a narcissist, but I didn't know at the time. I was just like, man, why is he doing this to me? And I was on TikTok and a bunch of videos popped up back to back to back narcissists. I was like, and then I looked at one. I'm like, so this is what I'm dealing with.
She then proceeded to break up with her narcissistic partner. She took it as a sign from God himself and decided to break free from the emotional abuse she was going through with her partner. Initially, she was confused, but eventually she felt God's message in her heart and she knew that she'd made the right decision.
Then I was like so confused. I had told him, I'm like, I know what you're doing. I'm cutting you off. I'm done with you. But I just couldn't make it up in my mind. And I was like, God, like, did I make the right decision by stop messing with this boy? And like, I was laying on my bed and it was like, he just leaned over me and was like, yes, you made the right decision.
From this video, it was pretty evident that Dontia was a very strong person emotionally, and rather than holding on to toxic people and situations that deteriorated her mental health, she chose peace and progress.
Oh, that I had to let him go, because for God to show himself right then and there, that was significant that he had to go.
Not only in her relationships, but Dontia always sought help from God, even when it came to her work. She posted another video online, which described how her faith had helped in her business. She had a client lined up for service, but she canceled at the last moment. Dontia was upset to let the client go. She was sitting alone and praying to God and asking if he could send her a replacement client to make up for the loss, and her prayers were heard. She indeed found a replacement client on the same day.
And it was like 11 at night, literally like 11 at night. And I got a text from my client, you know, one of my clients. She was like, I'm trying to book on your website for the morning. She was like, are you available tomorrow? Am I? Yes.
Not only that, this client paid her more than what her original client would have. So eventually it worked out well for her, and she believed that her faith would never let her face a loss.
And I was supposed to get 120 from the first girl, but I ended up getting 150 from this client. I was like, look at God. He comes through. Gotta keep the faith.
But the girl who had such a deep faith in her God made a mistake. She fell in love with the wrong person who became the reason for her tragic demise. She was active on social media, especially Twitter, and that's where she met a man named Caleb. Their conversation began casually and soon turned into flirting. After they spoke online for a few weeks, they finally met. They felt an instant attraction and began dating officially. After 2 to 3 months together, Dontia discovered that she was pregnant. Instead of getting worried about her future, she took it as a gift from God and called Caleb to let him know. After Caleb, Dontia called her sisters with the exciting news. They were happy for her. She was 8 weeks pregnant at this point and told one of her sisters, Deja, that she was also a little scared because it was her first child. But she didn't sound worried or stressed. She was excited to welcome her own bundle of joy.
She was excited, but she was also scared. I even told my sister it's okay to be scared. It's your first child. It's okay. That's the last conversation I had with my sister.
But what she didn't inform her was that Caleb hadn't sounded happy when she gave him the news, but it didn't matter to her much because she wanted to keep the baby and was looking forward to motherhood. Only 24 hours after she broke the news to Caleb, Dontia was home alone on April 9th, 2022, and getting through some chores. She heard a knock on the door and went to check it. As she opened the door, she was struck in the head by a bullet and then a few more. Dontia's family tried contacting her the next day, but they couldn't reach her. After trying for a few hours, they became worried. Her mother, Tasha Clark, sent her brother to check up on her. As her brother walked up to her apartment and opened the door, he found his beloved sister lying on the floor in the pool of her own blood. He called the Houston Police Department, who arrived at the crime scene and checked her vitals. Then they pronounced her dead. The Houston Police Department began the initial investigation immediately, but came up with no leads. Dontia's family told them about the recent developments in her life, and it pointed to only one suspect, Caleb. Yet, the police didn't arrest anyone because they didn't have any incriminating evidence against him. Caleb was also conveniently missing from the scene. He hadn't contacted Dontia's family like any concerned boyfriend might if his girlfriend was missing for one whole day. This solidified their suspicion that Caleb had something to do with Dontia's demise. Her mother couldn't believe that her daughter wasn't alive anymore. The teary-eyed woman broke down as she remembered her during an interview with a news reporter. She couldn't accept that she would never see her daughter anymore.
I really still don't think it just hit me yet. I know she gone. But I still don't think it really just hit me yet that my baby's not finna be here ever again.
After the initial investigation, the police concluded that the incident took place sometime between Saturday night and Sunday early morning. They also informed Dontia's family that there were no signs of forced entry on her apartment door, which hinted that she knew the attacker. This information made her family suspect Caleb even more strongly, and they claimed that it couldn't have been anyone else. They also claimed that her unplanned pregnancy was the probable reason for her death because that was the only matter that concerned Caleb. Everything else in her life was running smoothly as usual. When speaking with another news reporter, Dontia's mother said that Caleb wasn't responsible for just 1, but 2 deaths. Her unborn grandchild was also a victim of this heinous crime. After closing the initial investigation, Houston Police Department releases a statement mentioning that, at this time, there is no known suspect, witness, or motive in the shooting. The African American community has been facing discrimination from authority figures for decades, and it's not unusual for them to be ignored in such cases. Many of these cases never get solved because law enforcement doesn't take them too seriously. Sometimes, even with sufficient evidence, they delay the investigation, and the perpetrator manages to slip away from their grasp. Dontia's aunt Kika, Clark's words hinted the same. She was upset with the outcome of the investigation and claimed that the police department wasn't really thinking about bringing Dontia justice.
That's the part that's really frustrating. It's like, when is she gonna matter? When is she gonna matter?
At this point, Dontia's mother and her family only wanted justice for her.
I just need justice for my baby. That's all. That's it.
As the police slowed down the investigation, Dontia's family tried everything in their power to pressure them into finding the attackers as soon as possible. Her cousin came online and asked the African American community to raise their voices online to bring it to the attention of the authorities.
They say when a black woman gets killed and everything, nobody cares, but hey, this my little cousin, bro, so I care. We care, my family care, bro. We just want justice, I swear to God. That's it.
He also said that he had been trying to contact the Houston Police Department for many days and had received 0 response. He asked his community to help him get a response out of them as soon as possible.
I need y'all to help me. Hit up every damn Houston news outlet, hit up the damn... Really, HPD. HPD, get at me. Please. Been trying to contact you for 2 weeks. Damn near HPD.
He described the situation and claimed that the police department wasn't taking their claims or evidence seriously or wasn't communicating any updates with them, which was frustrating for Dontia's family.
Ever since the investigation had started, we talked to them one time and one time only, and ain't heard nothing again since. Been calling them 2 or 3 times a day, and it's not even us calling them to be like, hey, what's going on? It's calling like, hey, bro, we got more evidence. We already did the job for them, if you know what I mean.
Her brother also pointed out that Dontia never hurt anyone and was just minding her own business, and she didn't deserve the fate she was served.
She wasn't in no streets. She wasn't doing nothing, bro. All she did was she just braided hair, bro. So like, foul, bro.
He claimed that he and his family had already done the major task in the case. They had collected evidence that could progress the case, and all they wanted was for the police to acknowledge it and make good use of it. But the police were being irresponsible and were treating it like another petty issue.
The job is already done, bro. So we need y'all help, bro. Like they acting like they don't care. It's just another dead body to them, you know what I'm saying? But like, nah, like that's not how it's about to go, like, at all.
But what evidence was he talking about? Well, Dontia's family members found some interesting information in the surveillance camera footage just outside Dontia's apartment complex. They found a man lurking outside her building, and they shared the footage with news reporters and the police department. In the video, a man was seen moving suspiciously toward her apartment complex, and after spending some time there, he came out and ran to and fro in the parking lot before moving away.
They shared this video with Fox 26, showing a man entering Clark's apartment. You can later see him running from her building. He stops, turns around, and goes back toward her apartment. Then he can be seen running back out and away from the scene.
The suspect spent less than 3 minutes in that building. His face was covered and couldn't be identified. Also, it was nighttime, which made it more difficult to identify him from the footage. When reporters asked Dontia's mother if she knew who the man in the video was, she said it was no one other than Caleb.
I can't see nobody else but him. I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but that's all I see.
She claimed that since there were no signs of forced entry, it had to be her boyfriend because she trusted him. She added that Dontia was a responsible person and she would never let a stranger into her personal space.
She not gonna let anybody in her house that she don't know.
But despite having the evidence, the police didn't show much interest in taking any action. They didn't even try to identify the man in the video. As more time passed, Dontia's family became more and more impatient, but there was no progress. Dontia Clark's case turned cold in only 1 week. So, what was Dontia like before the tragedy claimed her life? When interviewing with news reporters, her aunt Kika Clark remembered her as a bubbly child who did whatever made her happy. She even called her extra and said whatever she did was always over the top.
She's going to sing, she's going to dance, she's going to laugh, she's going to talk smack. Just everything with her is overly.
Her sister remembered how elated she was when she gave her the news of her pregnancy, and she also told her the gender of the baby she was expecting.
She wanted a girl.
Dontia's family held a candlelight vigil on April 15th, 2022, in memory of their beloved daughter, and during that event, her family once again claimed that Caleb was the attacker who took Dontia's life.
That's right. Family and friends gathered outside that young woman's apartment. They created a small makeshift memorial right at her doorstep. Tonight, her family telling us they believe they know exactly who took her life.
They all wore white and red clothes and carried balloons of the same colors. They gathered in front of her house and released the balloons in the sky. Every member of her family gave a speech and remembered her best memories. They laughed and cried when speaking of her bittersweet tales and prayed for her departed soul. News reporters were also present during the ceremony, and they spoke with her mother and sisters. Losing her had been the biggest shock the family had received, and they were having a hard time processing the reality.
I don't truly want to believe she's gone. I still call her phone to this day. I still text her praying she's going to pick up, but I know she's not. It's just, she should be here.
Even a week after the incident, her mother Tasha couldn't believe that her daughter would never hug her again.
I'm just gonna miss my baby. I do not believe he took my baby away from me.
Just like Dontia's aunt, she also remembered her daughter as a lively child who loved every moment of her life. She mentioned how she was passionate about her work too.
She was the life of the party. My baby was real happy, energetic, like multi-talented. Like she do hair, she dance, she sings.
She was having a hard time focusing on her daily chores, and all she could think about was her deceased daughter.
It's hard for me to go to sleep. It's hard for me to wake up. Those are my hardest times. You know, my baby just steady going through my mind.
Her sister Deja was absolutely devastated and had a chilling message for Caleb, and she hoped that it would reach him someday.
You took my sister and you left her in the house by herself. That's not right. That's not right, and you're free.
Another family member added that Caleb could have handled the news of pregnancy more naturally. He should have spoken up about not wanting the child and perhaps come to a middle ground. He could leave her as a last resort, but taking her life wasn't justified.
If you didn't want the child, you could have just left her alone.
When the news of her death came out, many people commented on the incident online. Their speculations ranged from planned homicide to Caleb being framed. But most importantly, they raised their voice against the ongoing negligence in such cases against the African American community. So, what happened to Dontia Clark's case? If you're waiting for a positive and hopeful ending, this might not be the case, because as of April 2024, no arrest has been made. Caleb is nowhere to be found, which cements the suspicion the Clark family has of him. The Houston Police Department is trying their best to locate him, but the general people, especially the African American community, aren't particularly happy with the pace of the investigation. But the police hope to make a breakthrough soon. They have asked for help from the public and believe that they will uncover a lead soon.
Anyone with information is asked to come forward, call police. Remember, you can call Crime Stoppers if you'd like to remain anonymous.
But not just Dontia, but the entire world population is now waiting for the day this young and marvelous lady finds justice. So, what did you think of the case? Do you think Dontia should have alerted her sisters about Caleb's reaction to her pregnancy? Do you believe that she should have been a little more vigilant while opening the door to her apartment? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.